The extreme performance in here is almost shocking when you even hint at uncorking it. We're here in the hills above Malibu, California with the Rimac Nevera. This is an electric hypercar built in Croatia, nearly 2,000 horsepower, and you won't get it for less than $2 million. Miles beyond anything you've ever driven, even if you've driven a Tesla Plaid. This is on a whole different planet. All of the electronic management is really unobtrusive. It's a driver's car. It doesn't beep at you. It doesn't take over on you. It just gently, unobtrusively assists what the driver is doing, turning a decent but not superstar driver, such as myself, into someone who really feels like a rock star blasting through the canyons around here. So Rimac has been working towards this for many years, over a decade now. They first showed the Nevera in 2018 in March at the Geneva Motor Show, and they're just now getting to the point where they're making deliveries in the United States. The first few cars have been delivered. The production run will be 150 total, and that's it, all built at Rimac's facility in Croatia, just outside of Zagreb. It's a 120 kilowatt hour battery pack, range is about 300 miles in the sort of default cruise mode. So the Rimac Nevera has 1,914 horsepower. It has over 2,000 Newton meters of torque. And if that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. With a top speed over 250 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds. It'll run the quarter mile, a drag strip, in under 9 seconds. Completely over the top, and at the same time, it's a total sweetheart to drive. It's amazing what you can do when you have sophisticated software controlling each of the 4 motors. It's calm, it's planted. You could take your grandmother out for lunch, drop her off, and then go blasting through these canyon roads behind us at absolutely astonishing speeds. All right, so enough talk. Let's take this thing for a ride. Climbing the canyons above Malibu right now. It's a tight, twisty road without a lot of margin for error, and the car feels almost like, in my hands, like it's barely awake. Like it's really remarkable. The limits on this car are so extreme. I mean, even compared to other modern sports cars, it can do so much. One of the questions I had before I got in the car was, will it feel like a handful to drive? Sometimes sports cars at this level can be very stiff, very unforgiving, take a certain amount of technique to master before you can really start to get anything out of them. This car is just so approachable, so simple. One of the striking things about driving the Rimac is the sound. Electric cars are often very quiet. This one is not, but the sounds that they've allowed into the cockpit, into the driver's hearing, are very much mechanical sounds. They're sports car sounds. This is a car that you drive it and you can hear the mechanics of it as well as feel them. You can hear the motors winding up, and that really adds to the sense that you're driving an exotic. Even though it's an electric exotic, it's got tons of character. One of the interesting things about this car is it's almost 2,000 horsepower, and when you accelerate from a low speed, the car can't put all that power to the ground, so it manages the amount it can put down. So, you know, you floor it and you're taking off like a freight train, and you're not using anywhere near the whole amount of power available, amount of torque, amount of grip available. The car adds that as your speed increases, which makes it feel even more relentless. This is one of those cars where we almost think of the interior as a cockpit, because it really is set up for driving, and it's set up very well. It's a little different from most cars though. For starters, we shift into gear with the knob over here, park, reverse, neutral, or drive, and put your foot on the brake to do it, and you rotate this knob. The instrument panel has most of the information you'd expect in an electric car: battery state, your speed at the moment, and a few other things. You can cycle through several different range modes with this knob here, several different driving modes rather. I said range because the base level is range, maximizes the range of the battery. We drove up here through the wonderful canyon roads up above Malibu With a custom mode, you can save 2 custom modes. We had 100% of power on the front and rear, and the controls set very responsively, but also the suspension set soft, so there was nice compliance on the road, and that was really wonderful for sort of spirited driving on a curvy back road. Here we have a touch screen a la Tesla, just like everyone else. One thing I liked a lot is there are hardware switches to access a couple of the basic functions. Windows, obviously. You can raise and lower the car to get the nose over bumps. And we can go into the setup mode here, where you can select, fine-tune the drive modes. There are a lot of functions coming. The car has considerable computing hardware, as well as a slew of cameras, including a camera right here pointed at me. That doesn't do anything now, but sometime soon they will enable driver recognition. You can bring up the screen here, which has real-time wheel torque distribution. This is a fun one for your passenger to watch as you're pushing the car through corners, because moment to moment, 100 times a second, the car varies the amount of torque being generated by the 4 electric motors at each corner. And what you might find sometimes is you're cranking it into a hard corner, that one of them, the inside rear wheel, might actually show negative torque because it's applying a little bit of braking almost to help the car pivot more quickly. And that can be a fun thing to see. The Rimac exists in part because it was the dream of the founder, Mate Rimac, a Croatian engineer who has been building electric vehicles since he converted his old BMW to electricity about 15 years ago. Also, along the way, as he's developed this car, as he and his team have built out developing electric supercars and hypercars, they've had interest from other automakers who are confronting the challenge of how do we take high performance into the electric age. The larger company is called Rimac Group. It also runs Bugatti, which it took over from the Volkswagen Group. Its larger business is a consulting business to other automakers, legacy automakers that want to know how to do extreme high performance well in the electric era. You might ask, is there a space for a car like this in the emerging EV market? I mean, this is miles beyond even a Tesla. This takes that to a whole different level. It's built from the ground up to just deliver extreme performance with usability. An ordinary person can drive this. You don't need to have a racing license. And yet, it's 1900 horsepower under your foot. It's just astonishing.